This tiny shape is deadlier than any virus, and it is technically impossible to kill. It isn't even alive, yet it hunts your brain cells with 100% accuracy. Scientists only realized the horror when brains started turning into sponges, but the most terrifying part isn't what it does, it's how it survives. By the end of this, you'll understand why the world's most advanced hospitals are secretly terrified of a single protein. It's called a prion, it's a ghost in the machine of life, and once it enters your system, the countdown begins without you even knowing. You can kill bacteria with alcohol, you can destroy viruses with heat or radiation, but prion? They don't care about your soap, they don't care about your bleach, because they were never alive to begin with. Think of a protein like a piece of origami. Usually, they fold into beautiful, functional shapes that keep you alive, but a prion is origami folded wrong. It's a misfolded protein that decided to go rogue. Here is the what factor. Prion are infectious shapes, they don't replicate like DNA. They simply touch a healthy protein and force it to fold into a monster too. It's a microscopic zombie apocalypse happening inside your skull. Here's the part that sounds made up. Prion can survive 1000 degrees Fahrenheit. You could literally burn them, and the ash might still be infectious. This makes them the ultimate survivors of the microscopic world. In the 1950s, doctors found a mysterious disease called Kuru in Papua New Guinea. People were laughing uncontrollably before they died, their brains were full of holes. The cause was something nobody had ever seen. It wasn't a bug, it wasn't a plant, it was the ritual of eating the brains of the deceased. They were literally consuming the misfolded proteins of their ancestors, and those proteins were still active. This is where it gets truly terrifying for modern medicine. Standard hospital sterilization uses an autoclave with high-pressure steam. For most things, this is a death sentence. For prion, it's just a warm bath. There are documented cases where surgical tools were cleaned perfectly, yet still passed the disease to the next patient. The prion were stuck to the metal like microscopic superglue, and they were still hungry for healthy brains. The most famous version is Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, or CJD. It is 100% fatal, there is no treatment, no vaccine, and no cure, but the way it hides is the real nightmare. Prion can sit dormant in your body for 30 years, you could have been exposed decades ago and feel perfectly fine today, but once the first protein misfolds, the collapse happens in months. Your brain literally becomes a sponge, it develops microscopic holes until it can no longer send signals, you lose the ability to speak, move, and eventually, to breathe, all because of a tiny, folded shape. Remember mad cow disease in the 90s? That was a prion crisis. Millions of cattle had to be destroyed because the proteins had entered the food chain. People were terrified of a hamburger, and for good reason. Here is an unexpected fact. Some people have a genetic mutation that makes them naturally resistant to prion, but for the rest of us, our proteins are like a house of cards waiting for one wrong push. If you throw a prion into a volcano, it might survive. If you blast it with radiation that would kill a human instantly, it doesn't care, it's just a chemical, you can't kill a chemical. Scientists are now looking at Alzheimer's and Parkinson's through a new lens. Some believe these diseases might also involve prion-like behavior. This would mean our own bodies are the factories for our destruction. It's like a computer virus, but for your physical hardware. It doesn't need to eat, it doesn't need to breathe, it just needs to exist, and once it exists in the wrong place, the game is over. The mortality rate for symptomatic prion disease is a perfect 100%. No other disease on Earth can claim that level of lethality. Not Ebola, not the Black Plague, nothing. Why haven't we all died yet? Because prion are actually quite hard to catch under normal circumstances. They usually require direct contact with infected tissue, but usually is a dangerous word in science. Right now, chronic wasting disease is spreading through deer populations in North America. It's a prion disease, some call them zombie deer. And the proteins are staying in the soil for years. Plants can actually absorb prion from the soil. If a deer dies and its proteins enter the earth, the grass can carry that death signal to the next animal that eats it, nature's most resilient trap. What I haven't told you yet is the part that makes everything worse. We don't have a way to test for prion in living people easily. Often, we only find out for sure during an autopsy. Imagine going in for a routine surgery and the tools were used on someone with dormant prion. The hospital follows every rule, but the proteins are still there, invisible and indestructible. It's a medical ghost story. Unexpected fact. Some researchers think prion might actually be an ancient biological tool that went wrong. maybe they once had a purpose in early evolution, now, they are just a glitch. In the UK, thousands of people are estimated to be silent carriers of the prion that causes VCJD. They might never get sick, but they could potentially pass it on through blood donations. This is why many countries have strict rules about who can donate blood based on where they lived in the 90s. One tiny, misfolded protein in a bag of blood could be a disaster. Scientists are currently trying to unfold the mystery. They are using supercomputers to simulate how these proteins twist. If we can understand the fold, we can find a way to break it. The problem is that proteins are incredibly complex. There are millions of ways they can fold, but only a few ways that keep you alive. Prion are the ultimate error in the code of life. Here is another what moment. Some prion might actually be beneficial in fungi. They help the fungi adapt to new environments, but in humans? They are nothing but a death sentence. We are currently in a race against time. As our population ages, misfolding diseases are becoming more common. Understanding prion might be the key to curing Alzheimer's and more. There is a new technology called RT2IC. It allows us to detect tiny amounts of prion by making them grow in a lab dish. It's our first real flashlight in this darkroom. Even with this, the danger remains. The resilience of the prion is a reminder that we are just biological machines, and sometimes, the smallest parts of our machines can turn against us. If we can't kill them, we have to learn to outsmart them. We are developing new ways to coat surgical tools so nothing can stick to them, not even the world's deadliest protein. Unexpected fact: prion have been found to survive in the freezing vacuum of space. If life exists elsewhere, it might not be made of cells, it might just be made of infectious shapes. The good news is that prion diseases are still incredibly rare. You are more likely to be struck by lightning than to develop a spontaneous prion disease, but rare doesn't mean impossible. We are finding chaperone molecules. These are like microscopic bodyguards that help proteins fold correctly. They are the frontline defense against the prion invasion. Researchers in Switzerland are testing a protein-only vaccine. It doesn't use a virus, it teaches your immune system to recognize the wrong shape and destroy it before it spreads. This research isn't just about prion, it's about the very foundation of how life builds itself. By studying the deadliest mistake, we are learning how to make the perfect human body. The sponge brain nightmare is a dark chapter in medical history, but every day, we are getting closer to closing the book. We are learning to speak the language of shapes. We now use disposable tools for high-risk surgeries. We have tighter controls on our food than ever before. The world is safer today because we finally know what we are fighting. There is still a lot we don't know, but the fear of the indestructible is slowly being replaced by the power of understanding. Knowledge is the only thing prion can infect. Next time you wash your hands, remember, you're fighting the living, but the real battle for our future is being fought against the shapes that never lived at all. The mystery of the prion is the ultimate reminder of how fragile and how incredible human life truly is. We are a masterpiece of folding, and we are learning how to stay that way. So, the next time you hear about a zombie disease, you'll know the truth. It's not a monster, it's just a shape that forgot how to be a protein, and now, we're teaching them to remember.